My name is Aaron Lipsky, Fire Chief, City of Milwaukee Fire Department. Several hours ago, reports of a fire at 4821 North 22nd Street were received. This is Hampton Gardens. It's very well known to the fire department. We do spend a lot of time here on medical runs and other minor nuisance issues related to burnt food, such things like that. Spend a lot of time at this address. On arrival, they found extremely heavy smoke pushing from the second and third floors. As you can see, this is a cross-shaped building, 3 stories tall. So this whole wing appeared to be pretty well charged with smoke on the second and third floor. They had numerous people on both sides of this wing hanging from windows on the second and third floor. A number of different rescues were made, either over ladder or by going in and locating people and bringing them out. One elderly lady, unknown exact age, was rescued from the building, and cardiopulmonary resuscitation was performed a short distance behind me here, and that patient was transported to St. Mary's Hospital. We did utilize our cyano kit, which is a special medication dealing with people who have smoke inhalation issues. It has been reported to me, and I just don't have enough information at this time, but that these treatments may have really worked. So say prayers for that lady tonight. There were 6 other people transported by private ambulances with lesser injuries from this wing. I can tell you that the cause is still being investigated. You can see the unit right behind me. That is the fire unit of origin. So much of our investigation will focus on that area. I got to point out to you here, this is 197,684 square feet when you put this building together. 230 units, 315 separate beds. And here again we have a building with no sprinklers. This building was built in 1979. So we are working to find out precisely what the code was at that moment that allowed this building to be built without a full complement of sprinklers. Certainly there were no sprinklers activated because they weren't in existence in the building. I cannot stress the importance of having sprinklers in buildings, especially in buildings that are multifamily dwellings, especially multifamily dwellings that are housing elderly people who may just be a little bit slower moving around. I cannot emphasize this enough. Whether the building is built, tomorrow or 10 years ago or 25 years ago, we've got to get serious about the sprinklers. This did go to 2 alarms with an additional number of paramedic units that we brought in, just in case we found additional people. We'd like to thank the North Shore Fire Department for providing able assistance, and we'd also like to thank our partners on the Milwaukee Police Department who are definitely going to assist us with this investigation. I'm honored to be joined today by the mayor, who, as you know, has been extremely vocal and has been very, very supportive of our efforts to bring attention to this sprinkler issue. And we're also, as I mentioned before, we're joined by Alderwoman Andrea Pratt, who's been a huge supporter of the fire department, and obviously this being her district, she came right out here when we told her what was going on. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce or give the microphone over to Mayor Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. I want to thank the Chief. I want to thank the members of the fire department that responded very, very quickly to this fire in order to preserve property and preserve life. Chief just touched on the fact that there was a senior citizen who lived in this complex who has to be resuscitated. And so we will indeed be saying some prayers for her tonight in hopes that she is able to continue to recover from the smoke inhalation likely that she suffered as a consequence of being involved in this fire here. The Chief touched on this. Just last October, I joined the Chief, members of the Common Council, as well as State Senators LaTanya Johnson and Dora Drake, as they advocated for additional support from the state of Wisconsin to help to make sure that buildings in the city of Milwaukee and really throughout the state of Wisconsin are able to be retrofitted with sprinklers so that the issues like this don't happen. Just a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to join the Sprinkler Fitters Union, and they had a demonstration about the effectiveness of sprinklers. And I learned a lot that day. And I learned how those sprinklers in a situation like this would help to ensure that life and property would be preserved. And we need more of that action happening in the state of Wisconsin so that fewer people become victimized by fires. There have been far too many people in the city of Milwaukee over the course of the last year plus who have been negatively impacted by fires. We want to see that number go down. And so we'll continue, all of us will continue to beat the drum to make sure that we get retrofitted apartment buildings, multi-family units in the city of Milwaukee so that individuals who live in our city do not suffer the consequences of what we saw here today in this apartment building, which you can see the devastation, you can see the damage out of this unit right now. And thankfully, so far at least, there are no fatalities that are reported. So there's still a lot of work to do. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with our partners at the local level, certainly at the state level, and in the fire department in order to make sure that more people get the safety and assurance of safety in their residential buildings by making sure that sprinklers are outfitted in older buildings in the city of Milwaukee. As was mentioned, we are in the first aldermanic district, and I had the opportunity to touch base with Alderwoman Andrea Pratt on this some time ago. This afternoon, she was right on the spot. She was ready to respond. She was ready to be here on the scene, checking in on her constituents, and I thank her for doing that, and I thank her for joining us here. So at this time, I'll pass the mic to Area Alderwoman Andrea Pratt.
Thank you. I do want to say recently, within the last month, I held a neighborhood meeting for this building. And so one thing that I did express to the neighbors is that when they hear a fire alarm, that they should leave the building. It's something, I mean, it may go off regularly due to whatever issues are going on. But I expressed to them that they need to leave the building. So I do want to tell that to everyone who's listening, that if you live in a multi-unit building and you hear the fire alarm, that you should leave the building. Also to express that I share the same sentiments as the mayor and the fire chief, that sprinklers are needed throughout the older buildings. This is a far too common occurrence, and we are again here praying for someone who is in the hospital when there was a possibility that if we had had sprinklers that we would not be here. I just want to send prayers out to the woman who is in the hospital. And also, I've spoken with neighbors who live in the building. They reached out to me because I'm pretty close with people who live in here, and they talk to me regularly. So I'm praying for everyone. They've all been affected, even the ones who don't live right in this area. But just continue to pray for the people here and continue to adhere to fire safety rules. Leave the building when the fire alarm goes off. And don't worry about what you left behind. You getting out is more important. Thank you.
So that's our briefing for you. We'd be happy to take a few questions if any.
Chief Lipsky. Chief Lipsky, one of the residents said that they believe it's arson. One of the daughters in that apartment, something got on fire. Is there any variability to that?
We can't confirm or deny that. We're still investigating. I don't have that information personally. Great question. I probably should have mentioned. So we were able to keep some people sheltered in place in the other three wings of this cross-shaped building. Just this one wing, and I would say with 230, we're probably looking at 80 units that have been displaced right now. The Department of Neighborhood Services is coming to help us verify if we're going to be able to reoccupy some parts of even this wing. Yes.
Any firefighter injuries?
We have no reported firefighter injuries, thank goodness.
Chief Lipsky and Mayor Johnson, it appears that sprinklers weren't the only issue. We looked up Department of Neighborhood Services records, and it shows that building owners did not pass inspections in November and December of 2025. Inspectors flagged missing fire extinguishers and smoke alarms with low batteries that were chirping. And it says after an inspection on December 30th, they were referred to court. How do you hold the owners accountable when that is the case?
So we do a full-scale evaluation of the DNS records, and I was on the phone with the commissioner of DNS on the way down here on these very issues. So let me just say, I'm thankful that we have as aggressive an approach as we do from the commissioner of DNS. How do we hold them accountable? Boy, I guess if I could come up with that answer for you here right now, we could solve a whole lot of problems. And I'm not trying to be cute with you, but like, I have no idea how we upend an entire system who gains profit from people but doesn't provide them a safe living environment. I don't know how you fix that. We have to keep pushing for legislation to give some teeth to this entire process. It's the best I got for you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Chief. I think the Chief answered it very well. There's obviously more work to do, not just at the local level, but at the state level as well, in order to make sure that people have a safe place to live. What we generally do in the city of Milwaukee to hold individuals accountable who are providing some sort of public good, such as housing, if they are not abiding with the rules and regulations of the city, we generally inspect and re-inspect and hit them in the pocketbook. Those are our powers. The judicial proceedings are something separate, but those are the ways that we worked in order to gain compliance. Obviously, we need more tools in our toolkit in order to be able to hold folks more accountable.
Yes, that's. Yeah, we got to dig in. So this is one of the problems with overlapping and changing codes, and codes that refer to previous codes or standards. So we know that post 1973, so 1974 and forward, multifamily dwellings, and at the time that would have been defined as more than 3, so 4 or more units, they would have had to have been built with sprinklers. This building being built in 1979, and we've walked it top to bottom, there's not a sprinkler head to be found in there. There's no evidence there was ever sprinklers there. Could this have been some sort of trade-off during the code? Could there have been some sort of variance? We don't know. We will dig into all of those things, but it does give you a real good picture of what we're up against. We're pulling up here, and you know, we might be able to look at a database on the way in and go, hey, 1979, we're set, but we don't have the protection of sprinklers in this building. So there's a lot of stuff to be tied together here, and that'll certainly be part of what we dig into here is how was this built in 1979? How could they put in 230 residential units in 1979 without sprinklers? How could anybody even make that decision or have that be a desire at the time of construction? And I'll tell you why. It's money. It's because it's expensive to put sprinklers in. It costs more money. You squeeze less profit out of the development. That's why. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise.
And a follow-up, maybe for you or maybe for the mayor or Alderman, does the city have the resources then to go through some of these large buildings with so many units, especially maybe prioritize start with the elderly buildings, right, and check and see if all buildings after 1974 have sprinklers?
So we are in the middle of that process right now. We began digging into that after the Highland Avenue fire on Mother's Day. Commissioner Arroyo Vega and I and our teams we're like merging so many different databases, another whole problem. But we are pulling all that together right now so that when we are coming to a building like this, we are going to be throwing massive amounts of resources at it on the front end, which we try to send what we need as opposed to a huge overblow of resources, but we're just finding out in these buildings, it's just what's going to happen. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, and you know, so I was just thinking about that exact question, and I'm actually kind of sick and tired of this, right? The Mother's Day fire that happened last year, the fire that happened right now, there's no excuse. I don't believe that our firefighters should be running into buildings, especially when they're post the time when they're supposed to have sprinklers in there and they don't have that equipment. I think these landlords, these property owners should proactively be coming forward and letting us know, telling the city, and just being straight up and honest with us and with the people who live in there about whether or not they have sprinklers or not, right? These are people's lives that are being affected, right? You know, people live in here, and now there are 80-some people who, as of right now, can't have access to their homes. That's not right. And our fire department, before they enter into a building like this, ought to know. And the people who live in buildings like this ought to know when they sign their lease that there is no sprinkler, especially if it's a building like this that was supposed to have sprinklers years before it was even constructed. That was already the law. I think that is just insane to me. And property owners have got a moral responsibility to come forward and give that information. Like, we shouldn't have to dig for that information. They should willingly bring it forward to protect not just their own property, but the lives of the people who live in their property. That's the right thing to do. And that's what I want to see. There, last week or 2 weeks ago or so. Apparently it was today. No, I hadn't heard about that or had been briefed on that. I know there was one, I believe, a private tow that was happening 2 weeks ago, I want to say, that I am aware of. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.